Okay, we are live streaming. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, both in chambers and those that are watching our live stream on YouTube. And welcome council and staff to the Committee of Adjustment for August the 9th, 2022. I will call the meeting to order. Adoption of the agenda. Moved by Deputy Mayor Kaiser, seconded by Councillor Pennell. All in favor of that motion? Motion is carried. Thank you. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof? Seeing none, I would look for a motion for the adoption of the minutes of the Committee of Adjustments for July the 12th, please. Councillor McCormack, Councillor Richardson.
I have a correction. Sorry.
Correction?
Yeah, I wasn't absent. I was on Zoom and poor connection. Just
Okay.
order matters.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So if we could have the minutes reflect that Councillor Norrie was in virtually, please, Madam Clerk.
Thank you.
All in favor of the corrected? Motion is carried. Thank you. Land severance applications. Land severance application. I'm going to start a little differently tonight. We have 4 or 5. Normally before each application, either for a minor variance or land severance application, I ask if there is anyone here speaking for or anyone here speaking against. And that's registered with the clerk. So is there anyone here speaking for or against any of these applications? And if you would just rise and identify yourselves, please.
Cliff Trot speaking against.
Okay, and which one, Mr. Trot?
Kate Purcell, which is the minor variance
Okay.
on County Road 9.
Okay, so Cliff Trot. Do you need an address as well? No.
Gary South or the Severance.
The first one, 5.1, Mr. South, okay?
Yep.
Yep.
Carl Vance, I'm not sure if it's for or against, but I'm the property owner, so just if there's any questions with the application.
And which application was that, Mr. Vance?
For Carl Vance, it was the last in 108.
5.2.
5.2? No, we've got it, Mr. Vance, 5.2. Okay, perfect, thank you. Thank you. Michael, I will let you go ahead with the first land severance application, PLCOR 2022-032 G and M South, unnamed municipal road, southwest of 3100 County Road number 41. Legal description, part lot 20 and 21, concession 8, Township of Richmond. Go ahead, Michael, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. This application was deferred from a previous meeting due to staff needing a little bit more time to confer with the Ministry of the Environment as it related to the proximity of the proposed lot to be created in the vicinity of the Roblin Waste Transfer Station. Based on our conversations with the MECP and the fact that the closed landfill is being monitored very closely, groundwater flow direction is away from the property, and due to the very, I'll say, minimal usage of, not minimal usage, but very controlled usage of the Roblin Waste Transfer Station only on the weekends, they do not have any concern with the proposal. What the official plan requires is that the municipality consult with the MECP on applications where any proposed land use is within 500 meters of a waste transfer site or any land zoned M5, which can either be a waste transfer station or an active landfill or a closed landfill. But based on those conversations with the ministry, we don't have any concern, primarily based on the direction of groundwater flow. For if there were to be a residence established on the property, a new well installed, there's not anticipated to be any issue as a result of the lot creation. So bringing this back to the committee, and our recommendation from staff is for approval.
Any questions directed to Michael on this application? Seeing none, oh, sorry, go ahead, Councillor Pennell.
Thank you, through your worship, through you. Michael, is there any concerns of this road not being named?
Through your worship, if I can address that, there is a concern. We certainly do want to see this road, a proper name applied to this road. So especially, this was really brought up to staff through the review of this. We found that there was no road naming bylaw passed for this stretch of road that was installed 7 or 8 years ago, I believe. So it certainly is coming to top of mind for staff to prioritize getting a name on this for emergency response.
Okay. Just to follow up, should this be done in the same time frame as the severance?
Through your worship, the getting a road name bylaw passed certainly would be faster than getting all the conditions fulfilled with this consent. So it's not a race against the clock per se. The owners would have up to 2 years to fulfill the conditions. It likely won't take that long. You know, there's going to need to be a survey and some attention paid to the proximity of this proposed lot to the waste transfer site. Because our zoning bylaw requires a minimum 500-meter setback, it's really a blanket application to allow for more fine-tuned, detailed review for any other types of proposals such as this. So we'll need to pay some attention towards that through either a minor variance or rezoning, but we can certainly accommodate the road naming during this whole process through the fulfillment of the conditions.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Just on that point, I thought that was curious too. I was on council when we built that road and took out the bridge. At the north end, it's called Woods Lane, so I had never understood why it wasn't called Woods Lane at the south end, but that's all I want to say about that.
Thank you. You do have a recommendation before you, council's wishes. Move staff recommendation, Councillor Pennell, seconded by Councillor Norrie. If there are no further comments or questions, all in favor of the motion? Motion is carried. Thank you. 5.2, land severance application, PLCOR 2022-041, Vance, 2838 Deseronto Road, legal description, part lot 1, concession 7, Richmond. Michael.
Thank you, Worship. This application was also deferred from a previous meeting. The applicant had requested to be in attendance to make some remarks or answer any questions of the committee that may come up. Staff have noted it's an awkward lot. The existing well for the lot would be to the north of retained parcel. The well that serves that house would be approximately in the middle of this lot to be created, roughly. So the lot fabric that's proposed would jog around the well and the well line. Very awkward lot configuration, and staff do have some concerns with it, but I believe Mr. Vance is in attendance to provide some rationale as to why the lot configuration is as is proposed. Staff, I guess, requested if the lot could be shifted to the southerly boundary of the property in order to avoid such awkward lot configuration, but I believe Mr. Vance has some comments that he would like to make the committee aware of.
Mr. Vance, if you would like to come forward, if you have some comments you'd like to make as to the configuration, you'll have to come up to the mic so those people at home that are watching on the live stream can hear you. Thank you.
Personally, I have no issues with it, but I don't know.
Yeah, sorry, Mr. Vance, you'll have to sit down and speak into the mic so those that are on the live stream, sorry to be so picky.
No, that's good. I have really no comments other than answers to any questions that
Okay.
you guys may have.
Okay, any, Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, thanks. I guess I might have been one of the ones to raise the concern about the placement of the well within the proposed severed lot. From personal experience, that can be problematic to the future owner, that suddenly you forget where the boundary is. We actually had a situation where field operations cut through the well line that was within the field that served the house that was outside the field. So I guess if you could explain the rationale, because for me it just seems like and I can think of some other ones too, but it just seems potentially problematic, and I think for my sake, I think you should want to try to avoid that. But.
The property owner is gonna be here, he's here with me right now. He has no issues with it whatsoever. We're personal friends, and the outcropping per se is just keeping it as retained, simple as that. There's no fancy outcroppings as far as I'm concerned. All it is from my retained area to my house as the well goes to my house, right? So I just need to keep that in the retained area because it's obviously mine, right? So his property just goes around it, and he's got 4 acres, and he's quite happy with that. Non-typical lots aren't uncommon. Not that I'm trying to be argumentative by no means, but it's just this little outcroppings, the only thing it's doing is keeping the well inside my property in the retained area.
Man,
Certainly.
and I certainly understand that logic, I guess. Again, my thought was make it regular, why not just shift it down to the southwest corner of the property rather than that funny line, but, I mean, I'll stop there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor McCormack.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just some clarification. Why would you not drop it to the south end? I don't think that's been answered to me.
The future property owner, Roy Kendall right there, he wants the hardwoods, and then to the south end of the property, it's more cedars and it's not as appealing. So he likes the hardwoods, and that's what he wants to build in, is inside the hardwoods, because that's his design, his plans for his new home, is driven right around all the hardwoods. And if you go further to the south, you're just gonna get cedars, and it's a low-lying area. So it just makes it difficult. And he wants the woods.
So based on what Deputy Mayor Kaiser said, what's the concern, maybe Michael, down the road for future resale?
There shouldn't be any concern as far as I can see.
Okay, I appreciate that, but I mean, your friend's here, the one that's buying the property, but doesn't mean that one day he might not sell it to somebody else.
Well, if he does, it's, Tom McDonald's gonna do the survey, if everything's approved, and it's gonna be pretty much written in stone as to how it is, because it's only going in maybe 100 feet off of the property line. So it's not like it's going through halfway through his property. It's only in there maybe, like I said, 100 feet, and then the rest of it's his, and then there's another section at the very south end that's retained into my ownership.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Pennell.
Thank you, through your worship. Have you ever entertained the thought of putting in a new well?
No.
I do believe with my profession of being a realtor, it would be in your best interest to maybe have that cost to see if that would be feasible to you for future.
Sorry to interrupt partly, but if we move that well any further to the north, the quality of water diminishes right on up to the top. That's because I own the house that was up on the top that we sold last year too. So all the water, the majority of most of the gallons per minute water is right where my well is, and his well is going to be maybe 20 or 30 feet from that, or maybe 20 or 30 yards from that. And the whole reasoning is for that well is a good well, and his well will be a good well.
Okay, and just one more, thing. Is the proposed severance, is there gonna be a residence put on that property?
Yes.
And will you be sharing that well? with
No,
what
he's
you
going to
just
have his own well.
said? He's gonna have his own well. Okay, thank you.
Anything further for either Michael or Mr. Vance on this one? You do have a recommendation before you, council. What are your wishes?
I'll do staff recommendation.
Councillor Pennell, staff recommendation. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Norrie. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion? Motion is carried. Thank you, Mr. Vance.
Thank you very much.
.3, but before we go any farther, I do think that one of the applicants for a minor variance, just so that we have a record, Kelly, what we usually do is ask at the first of the meeting if there is anyone here speaking for or anyone here speaking against. Could you rise and tell me if you are speaking for or against the minor variance, please?
Yes, ma'am. I am speaking for the minor variance.
Okay, so thank you very much. So that's Kelly Percival. Okay, thanks, Kelly. We just missed you before you came in. 5.3, land severance application, PLCOR 2022-045, S. Wales, 1373 Lime Lake Road, lot to be located on the northwest corner of Defoe Street and Lime Lake Road. Legal description, part lot 8, concession 10, Richmond. Michael, do you have anything to add to this one?
Thank you, Richard. Nothing to add. This was previously before the committee was deferred. We were awaiting sewage system review capability on the lot. That has since been received, and supportive comments have been received from our sewage system inspector. So staff have no concern with the proposal. We are proposing a condition that road widening be provided on both Dayville Street and Lime Lake Road on the corner lot to be created. So just for future possible road widening efforts that may be needed in the future.
Okay. Council, you're moving staff recommendation, Council McCormack?
Yes, your worship.
Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Pennell. Any further comments or questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion is carried. Thank you. On to 5.4, land severance application, PLCOR 2022-059. R. Hashana, 315 Abrams Road, legal description, part lots 9 and 10, concession 4, North Fredericksburg. Michael.
Thank you, Worship. The proposal before the committee this evening is to create a 7.25 hectare lot, approximately 18 acres or so in size. This application is accompanied by a minor variance application. There unfortunately is not quite enough road frontage to meet the minimum requirement for non-residential uses in the rural zone. The lot area certainly complies, but the frontage unfortunately does not. There's a very small lot intervening the balance of what would be the retained lands and the severed land. So staff are proposing that a minor variance be approved to allow for non-residential uses, meaning farming operations, to continue on the property. I would note that not so far off the road, the lot is to widen out to approximately the 100-meter requirement, so it really won't change the look and feel of the area per se. I mean, it's unfortunate just that there is that small lot intervening there causing this discrepancy, but staff are supportive of the proposal, and I'd be happy to take any questions that the committee might have.
Any questions for Michael on this? Go ahead, Councillor Pennell.
Thank you, through your worship. Michael, that small lot, is that a house that's there?
That's correct. It's being used for residential purposes.
Are we asking for, we're also asking for a lot widening as well, or road widening?
That is correct on Abrams Road frontage,
Yeah.
yes.
So what happens when we come there? If we switch over to the other side, then we'll have to maybe ask for more land from that property, correct?
It's possible, depending on how the road can be configured within the right-of-way itself. We may not need to take some road widening from that small lot if the road can be widened to suit by going further to the westerly side, as you mentioned. At such time in the future that we may need to do some work on Abrams Road, it's good to have as much land as we do, or that we can take for free, through this process, essentially. This really is probably the only process that a municipality has to take free land in the form of road widening outside of a subdivision. So it certainly is it's good practice to take when we don't have a full 20-meter wide road right-of-way, and what we're proposing is to get to that 10 meters from center line here.
Okay. And right now, there would be no ask of that house to give up any land, because even though that this land is gonna go around it.
That's correct, through your worship, that's correct. Now, at this time, they're not subject to the application, so we really don't have a basis to ask them for any land or any road frontage.
Okay, great, thank you.
Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
I'd like to follow up on that, because as I think where Councillor Pennell was coming from, if you went to that small property in that house, and if you took the widening, you'd basically be inside the house. It's so close to the road. So I think that's probably where you're coming from, is I don't know how you could apply the road widening to, I hear what you're saying and it makes sense, but in practicality, you couldn't widen the road there without probably taking that house out.
It's a possibility that the house might need to go if it's deemed necessary to widen that road in the future.
Anything further from council? Let's see. Moved by Deputy Mayor Kaiser for staff recommendation, seconded by Councillor Johnson. No further comments or questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion is carried. Thank you. We'll go on to the minor variance applications. Minor variance application PLVAR 2022-055, K. Percival, 1083 County Road 9, legal description, part lot 5, concession 4, North Fredericksburg. Michael, I'll let you speak to this, and council, we do have both the for and against here tonight, so if we're going to have questions, please make sure that they're directed through the chair. Go ahead, Michael, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. This application again was deferred from our last meeting. The applicant had requested to be in attendance to answer any questions of the committee. At that time, staff noted that we do have concern with the scale of the building in relation to the context of the area. It would be quite a large building, quite a tall building, in and amongst the smaller rural residential lots there. And we really don't see how the height can't be accommodated within the within the existing maximum requirements. So without really seeing that basis for the request, staff are not able to support the proposal. But I believe the applicant is here to provide some more context for the committee in regards to the ask.
I'll just, do you want a question first, do you?
Yeah, just Michael.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Through your worship, Michael, did I hear you say that there's nothing that can be done to the building to come into conformity? Is that what you said?
What the applicant has indicated to staff is that they really want to have this second floor storage area loft associated with this building. Staff don't see the need. What we were told is that the building's to be used for storage and woodworking, and that the loft would be used for storage of tools and materials. But based on the size of the building, it seems like it could be reasonably accommodated within the main floor per se of that garage. So we really just don't see the need for the additional height.
Okay. However, if the applicant brought this building and attached it to the house, then the height would be allowed?
That is correct. So at that point, the building would then become part of the principal dwelling, and the height would then be allowed to go up to the maximum of the rural residential zone, which is greater than the request here. So in that case, yes, it would be permitted.
And could I ask the applicants?
Certainly, but I'll, Kelly, if you'd like to come forward, I need you, when your answers will be going through the microphone, so those that are here at home, at home or listening can answer to them. So you just have a seat there, please. Councillor Pennell, I'll let you continue, please.
Thank you. Through your worship, hi Kelly.
Hello, Dave.
Is there any possibility of you moving that building to attach to the house?
No. In order to attach this to the house, I do believe you'd still need a minor variance, as it would be too close to the neighbor's property. On top of that, it would be an eyesore. When you're looking at the house would be very irregular shaped. It would make for resale to be very poor.
Okay, all right. I'm struggling a little bit with this because just down the road this year, last year, we had to adjust something very similar to this. So it's hard when we've asked them to do it and they conformed, and now we have this. So that's my only problem, and it's too bad that you couldn't bring it to the house, because then it would be granted. So okay, thank you.
Deputy Mayor, thank you. Deputy Mayor Kaiser?
Thank you. This was actually for Kelly as well. Given that it's the overall height above ground, was there any consideration for, especially given the lie of the land, I think it tends to rise, continues to rise behind the house. Could you not have lowered the floor into the ground and brought the roof down? You know what I mean? Like, got a little more creative with the landscaping site to get your overall height in the lower level, get the loft upstairs, but have the overall height above ground not exceed the maximum.
So the problem with that would be, in order to park the utility trailer inside the garage, you're going to be going down. That is the problem.
There isn't sufficient rise behind the house that you'd just basically be going level in, but actually be below grade?
I don't know that that's
Okay,
possible.
I was just looking for something creative to sort of
Yeah.
get within the rules,
And
but
we-
still give you what you want, is what I was trying.
We have tried to look at every creative opportunity available, and I just haven't seen it. I have not. I'm pretty creative, and I have not been able to see a way to utilize the building for the needs any other way.
Okay. Go ahead, Councillor McCormack.
Thank you, Your Worship. Michael was mentioning earlier on, the intended use of this garage would be to have a shop on the second floor.
No, the second floor would be primarily for storage, for use of, the house itself is an older house. It's lacking of storage, per se. There is numerous stuff outside of the house currently where it would be nice to have somewhere to put it, as opposed to having it sitting outside. Be able to park the utility trailer inside. It's an enclosed utility trailer. Would like to be able to park that inside, of course, in the winter time. Also use it for woodworking.
Is it possible that the anticipated second floor would eventually turn into a residence?
No, the zoning doesn't allow for that.
I do believe it's coming, though.
I do believe it's coming, but we have no intentions of having somebody in the backyard. It's not what we're looking for.
All right, thank you.
Anything further from council? Go ahead, Councillor Pennell.
Thank you, Worship, through you to Kelly again. I just heard you say that you've thought of everything, but I have to ask, do you think about dropping the second floor down if it's just gonna be for storage?
Well, if you drop it down, you can't stand up in it. With the lack of standing up, my son, who resides in the house, currently has bad back. He currently has bad knees. He's been doing construction since he was a teenager. So bending over, getting storage when you already have those issues, it's not a good idea.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else from council? You do have a recommendation before you. Sorry.
I believe we had another member of the audience.
Oh, to speak, yeah.
Yes.
Sorry. Mr. Trott, would you like to come up and speak to this? You have a letter of objection in. Kelly, I'll ask you to switch places, please,
Yep.
and thank you. Thanks, Cliff. Go
Yeah.
ahead, please.
So when we heard about this, I started talking to people I know, and I said, what am I going to do about this? It's really high. And people said, under no circumstances should you allow a building that size, because it's the same size as your house. It's a 2,400 square foot building, and the peak of the roof is 6 inches lower than my house. And it just happens to be right up against the fence of my property. And there's 2 windows in the back, 2 windows in the front. And just following through on the uses that the town would consider, it's not appropriate and compatible with the rural landscape at all. It's rural residential designation. It's 29% higher than the maximum allowed. It's another 30%. That's really high. It's the same size as my house, and it's bigger than the zone. I'm concerned about the loss of privacy. I think that's a wonderful view from those 2 windows because you can see the water in behind my house, which would be really nice. I'm concerned about lighting. We enjoy the night skies, and they're slowly disappearing, and we're losing the enjoyment that we had when we first moved in there, when we bought the house. We have been concerned about the use. It was nice to hear Kelly say there's no intention on having people move in there, because when you build a 2,400 square foot building for storage to accommodate a bunch of junk that's lying along a fence line, I don't see how anybody could use that all for storage. It has a I don't understand construction that well, but there is an access from the outside, so you can walk up to the second level from the outside. It would be very difficult bringing any large items up there for storage, going to the top of those steps and turning in. So I don't believe it. I don't believe. And I have history on my side where I shouldn't believe it. And I won't go into it because I think it's just too much and it's probably unpleasant. So the other thing is, we just built a nice porch on our house and we like to sit out and enjoy the view but right now we are looking at the 1,200 square foot excavation, which has been there for probably close to 3 years, which is full of weeds. I'd love to see something else other than that, but I don't want to see something that's towering over my house. So I'm not happy with it, and we've been upset about it. The part of the Airbnb, I understand we are moving towards Airbnbs, and I know that the town has a plan. Maybe it would make a great Airbnb. I don't know. But right now, the purposes of that building is for storage and for woodworking. And I don't know what woodworking means. If it's commercial woodworking, if someone's building parts for houses in there, is that legitimate, or is it somebody who's making a hobby of, cabinet making? There's a difference. So I just want to point that out. So that's really all I have to say, because everything else is in the letter. But this is our retirement place. We want it to be pleasant. And we also want to have a pleasant relationship with our neighbors. And we've always tried to have pleasant relationships. My submission of the letter has resulted in a certain amount of harassment. There are other neighbors who aren't happy with it, who are afraid to submit a letter, just to let you know. And I won't go into that. That's about all I have to say about it. But I'm not happy about it.
Okay, any questions to Mr. Trott regarding his letter or his objections? No? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor McCormack.
Thank you, Worship. So just a comment, the only access to the second floor is from the outside.
Through your worship, that is correct as proposed.
Yeah. Thank you.
Council's wishes, you do have a recommendation before you to receive, and further, given staff's inability to support the proposal, that the committee render a decision on the application seeking a variance to allow the accessory building to exceed the maximum permitted height by 1.9 meters. What are council's wishes in this? Deputy Mayor Kaiser?
I'm inclined to deny. 1.9 meters is nearly a whole second level. I think there are other solutions like attic trusses or landscaping or a larger footprint on a single level that could accommodate the same storage without the imposition. If we were talking a smaller amount, if we were like within half a meter or less, that's pretty close, but this is essentially the whole second floor.
So your motion is to deny.
Yes.
Do I have a seconder on that? Councillor Richardson. Any further comments or questions? All in favor of the motion to deny? Motion is carried. Thank you. 6.2, minor variance application, PLBAR 2022-060. R. Hashana, 315 Abrams Road. This was discussed earlier with the severance application. Michael, is there anything that you need to add to this? I think it's been pretty well explained.
Through your worship, no, nothing additional to add.
Council's wishes on this, staff recommendation. Deputy Mayor Kaiser, Councillor McCormack is seconding that. All in favor of the motion? Motion is carried. Thank you. Motion for adjournment.
6.3.
Oh, got another one?
Oh yeah, we have to.
Oh, sorry, I flipped over the page. I'm sorry. 6.3, minor variance application, PLBAR 2022-063. T. Vandenberg, Tannybron Road, north of 71 Tannybron Road, legal description, part lot 17 and 18, concession T, Adolphustown. There's a recommendation that the information be withdrawn as by the applicant, and further that the committee direct staff to close the file. Staff recommendation?
This should be concession 5.
That's what I thought, yeah.
Yeah, staff rec.
Staff recommendation, Deputy Mayor Kaiser. Sorry to go over that one, it was on 2 different pages. Councillor Pennell, all in favor of that motion? Motion is carried. Now a motion for adjournment. Deputy Mayor Kaiser, Councillor McCormack, all in favor of that motion? Motion is carried. Council has been in session since 5:30. I'm going to say that we're going to start this meeting at 7:15, so if council needs a stretch or a break, then we'll do it now, please.